Welcome to the Checkout Point, your quick dive into this week's e-commerce buzz with me, Max, powered by Blickit.co. These 20 minutes pack the latest trends, news, and insights. Let's navigate the digital marketplace together. Ready? Let's go.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Checkout Point. I'm Max, and we're keeping it real and relatable.
Hey, good to have you all here. If you care about profitable e-commerce and not just pretty dashboards, you're in the right place.
Yeah, this is not the Vibes and Vanity Metrics podcast. We're all about the P&L, not the pretty dashboards. Today is a special one.
Yeah, we've got a guest I've been really looking forward to. We're talking with Stewart Pratt about media buying in 2026.
This episode is basically, did your playbook from last year just die? And honestly, probably.
Seriously. We're digging into what changed in the last year and what's about to hit us next.
Right. We get into how data-driven decisions have evolved from, like, a quarterly deck to you're making a quarter's worth of decisions in a single day. That stat still has me in a chokehold.
Which is insane. And also, if you care about ROI and CAC payback windows, that speed actually changes how you run budgets week to week.
Exactly. And Stewart and I nerd out on my absolute favorite stuff. Incrementality, lift, decision trees, the nerdy things that I've been obsessed with but are finally becoming normal language in 2026.
Which means no more hiding behind, oh, attribution is complicated, we'll just spend more.
Yeah, keyboard cowboys, your days are numbered. We talk about why the future media buyer looks more like a calm assassin with spreadsheets than a frantic button clicker. That's the evolution I believe in.
And we get into the role shift, too. Less unofficial data engineer, TikTok therapist, and GA4 janitor. More strategic consultant who actually understands the client's business model.
If you've ever wondered where attribution stops and MMM starts, like attribution answers who helped score the goal versus MMM answers should we even be playing this sport, that's all in here.
And for anyone training a team right now, pay attention. We touch on behavioral economics, decision quality, and how to coach buyers to think in profit, not just CPMs.
So, grab your coffee, open your favorite dashboard, but maybe don't rage click anything yet. Listen to this first.
Yeah, listen to this first. Let's jump into how data-driven decisions have evolved and what that means for media buyers in 2026.
All right, let's get into it with Stewart Pratt. This is going to be good. Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks for asking.
Welcome to the show, Stewart. With 25 years in marketing and data science, what are the most significant shifts you have seen in how agencies approach consumer data?
Wow, that's a really great question. I mean, over the last 20 years, the thing I've really noticed is much more familiarity with data, much more comfort with data, and being able to use data to drive data-driven decisions. When I first got into this game, it was really difficult to get people to really buy into data-backed decisions, um, data-driven media optimizations and media placements. But over time, we've really become an industry that is comfortable with data and relies on data to make some very difficult decisions, but also make those decisions very fast.
That speed of decision-making is fascinating. How do you see the role of the media buyer evolving by 2026 as data becomes even more integrated into the process?
Yeah, I think over the next year, the role of the media buyer is more of a media consultant, more of a communications planner. I see the role of the media buyer shifting to one which is focused more on helping guide brands and guide clients and their teams to really think about building truly integrated media plans and really focused on driving business growth. And that's a little bit different from the past when media buyers and planners, they really focused on implementing a media plan that potentially the client or they had agreed upon, but not as much as a consultant, more as a implementer of the media buy, right? With a few relatively interesting, ideas added in. It became much more of a perfunctory type role. And really was focused a lot on reporting and optimization. And I think those goals of reporting and optimization, focusing on how we optimize specific placements, how we optimize creative, that's really moving away. We're letting algorithms run that process. We're letting automated reporting do some of the job of keeping clients and teams up to date on data and information, allowing algorithms to find the right audiences, to optimize towards the optimal audience, really focused on allowing those parts of the process to be automated through technology, right? The delivery portion, but the strategy portion, coming up with really creative opportunities for media placement. I see that as being really the next phase. In some ways, it's a return to how media buying and planning was, maybe 15 years ago when it was directly purchased through relationships with companies, right? The media buyer had a direct relationship with the publisher and could identify or create inventory opportunities, and create unique placements. As we moved to programmatic, we got away from that a bit. We moved more towards the media buyer and planner really just making sure that inventory was available, and coming up with media plans that were integrated but weren't necessarily unique. I think we're moving back to a place where the media buyer has that ability to begin to think about unique placements, unique executions, and to become a real consultant to brands on how they can grow their business, not just sell a product.
That is a profound shift toward a more strategic and consultative approach. How do you think this return to unique, relationship-based placements will change the way media buyers are trained or the skills they need to prioritize?
Yeah, I think media buyers need to prioritize more than ever a real understanding of client business. They need to understand the business model that the client works with. They need to understand more about their specific audience, and really understand about consumer behavior. One of the things that we moved away from for a while was having media buyers focus on behavioral economics, focusing on how consumers buy, why they buy, what are the moments in which we can engage them. We did a lot of consumer mapping 15, 20 years ago, but we moved away from that a bit when we really focused on just most media is going to go through social media, search. We limited where we placed media, where we placed creative, and how we delivered communications. We really narrowed that down and limited it. And I think one of the skills that media buyers are going to need to develop is to go back to developing that ability to understand consumers, to do more research into consumers, and to understand a broader array of media when they are engaging with brands, and ultimately developing the skill of being a consultant, of providing consultative support for clients and teams and brands is going to be really critical. And part of that, as I mentioned, is understanding their business. How does the business make money? What attracts consumers to that business? How can I be a partner in a brand's growth more than just thinking about how I can place a particular piece of creative for maximum reach?
Okay, Rachel, I need a second to recover. Stewart basically just fast-forwarded us to 2026, and my media buyer brain is still buffering. I've got like 15 tabs open in my head right now.
Same. The big one for me was how the media buyer role is shifting from button pusher to co-pilot. The platforms handle the mechanics, and the buyer becomes the strategist in the room.
Yeah, he basically said, let the algorithm drive, but don't fall asleep in the passenger seat. You're watching signal quality, incrementality, all that nerdy stuff I genuinely love staying up with spreadsheets for. That's the good nerdy.
And it's not just speed for the sake of speed. When he talked about decision cycles shrinking from weekly to almost hourly, I immediately thought of a client last year. We were still waiting for the weekly report while their CAC was quietly creeping up. In 2026, that kind of lag is just money on fire.
Money on fire. Which, to be fair, is one way to increase impressions. Just not the KPI we want. That's the kind of budget waste I used to catch back in my CRO days. Same problem, different channel.
Not a scalable channel.
The training piece really hit me too. Stewart saying junior media buyers won't start in Ads Manager, they'll start in business models and unit economics? That's the shift I've been preaching. You need to understand how the business actually makes money first.
Exactly. Less, here's how you set up a lookalike. More, here's how this brand actually makes $1. If you can't talk contribution margin or LTV CAC with a client, you're not a media buyer in 2026. You're just renting the UI.
And the consultative angle. He basically wants media buyers to sound more like fractional CMOs, portfolio managers, thinking about the whole mix. You're not just optimizing CPMs, you're challenging landing pages, offers, even product bundles. That's consulting DNA.
I remember the first time I pushed back on a client's offer structure instead of just shifting budget. It was terrifying, but that one change moved ROAS more than 6 weeks of bid tweaks. Stewart's saying that kind of courage becomes table stakes.
And all powered by way richer data. His point about moving from past tense dashboards to near real-time modeled signals, that's the decision-driven data mindset. Less what happened last week, and more what is this next dollar likely to do. That's how you get competitive advantage.
Which means the real skill is knowing which signals to trust and which to ignore. You can't chase every blip. In 2026, restraint is as important as speed.
So media buyers need to be fast, strategic, data literate, calm under pressure, basically fighter pilots with spreadsheets. Fewer keyboard cowboys, more calm assassins. That's the 2026 buyer right there.
Fighter pilots who live and die by ROI.
All right, let's land this plane and head to the outro with the action items.
Stick around. Coming up next is our outro, where we'll give you the quick hit action steps you can take from Stewart's 2026 playbook.
All right, I think that's our signal to stop nerding out about incrementality before I start drawing decision trees on the mic. Trust me, nobody wants that audio.
Please don't. But seriously, today was huge. We went from that simple greeting and intro into a full breakdown of how data-driven decisions have evolved.
Yeah, like how 2026 is finally the year all the scary stuff, lift, MMM, incrementality, becomes normal language, not wizard talk. That's the year I've been waiting for since my CRO days.
Exactly. And I loved the media buyer role evolution piece. Fewer keyboard cowboys, more calm, spreadsheet assassins making smarter, faster decisions.
In a world where you're making in a day what you used to decide in a quarter, that still fries my brain. And I love nerdy stuff.
Same. But if there's one takeaway, it's this. If you're in e-com or media buying, you win by tying every fancy model back to ROI, KPIs, and actual profit.
Yeah, data that doesn't move dollars is just nerd fanfic. Pretty dashboards with zero revenue impact? Come on.
On that note, if this episode gave you something useful, subscribe to the Checkout Point and leave a quick review.
And send it to that one friend who's secretly a GA4 janitor, TikTok therapist, and unofficial data engineer all at once. You know exactly who they are.
Thank you for hanging out with us.
This was the Checkout Point, keeping it real and relatable.
We'll see you next time.
Later, everyone. Go make some smart decisions.